Mr. Lucarelli, thank you very much for being with the National Broadcasting Corporation here in Greece. Your fellow writer John Nespo once told me that all people really want to read is about love and crime. Do you share this view also?
Yes. I think the same. Love and crime and fear.
And why is that?
Because love and crime is part of our life, of course, our world. So, but I think we are very interested in fear, because fear is something very strong. Mm-hmm. We have fear of something and we want to know what is it. Mm-hmm. And so love, it's okay, but it's not my place of work. Mm-hmm. But crime and fear, I think, is very, very interesting.
Okay, and you have said that, I've read that in your interviews, you have said that you have a passion for mystery, you have a passion for investigation, for stories that, tell our real and hidden fears. First of all, how did this passion came to you?
Allora, I started to read. My mother was a very strong reader. She read the book and give the book to me and say, I think it's a good book. Mm-hmm. He never told me it's a noir, a crime, history, love book, and so on. Just it's a good book. And I discovered that the book I loved more was the book with a mystery inside, and the writer don't tell me altogether, but slowly. This is the kind of book I like. And I discovered that this kind of book speak about the dark side of the world. The side of the world we have fear about, no? And in this side of the world there is a lot of things. We have to solve this kind of problem, this kind of things, this kind of danger, if you want to live the other side of the life. This is the reason I read and I write this kind of book.
What is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear? I don't have fear. This is the strange thing. I have the fear, I think, like the other people. I have two children, 2 daughters, and I'm afraid, of course, what can happen. I live in this world. I'm afraid. I was born in the 1960, and during my life, I forget the atomic bomb. You remember Russian, USSR and United States, the bomb in the 70s. I forget. Now I'm afraid again about the bomb, the atomic bomb. Mm-hmm. So,
and a possible nuclear war in...
Yes, possibly this. It's the first time I think about something like this. Mm-hmm. So I'm afraid, I think like the other people. But I don't have a very big fear. I think we can fight together.
Fear for no inspiration?
No. No, because no inspiration. You say, I look my white, no? White
yeah,
page,
you see white paper and say there's no new ideas coming up.
No. No, because allora, the idea come from the life, I think. Mm-hmm. I walk, I see something scaring, something interesting, and come out an ideas, a story, not to write. Mm-hmm. Things happen, so I'm not employed.
Commissioner De Luca, the leader in your stories, the main character in your stories, he has been described as one of the most fascinating characters in the whole Italian literary scene. How did what inspired you to create this character?
Allora, it was a real man that inspired me. I was studying about contemporary history in the university, history of fascism, political police in fascist time. This was my thesis. And I met a man, an old man, who was 40 years in political police in Italy, since 1940 to 1980. At first, he was in the political police, the secret police of Mussolini, fascist police. And he put in jail anti-fascisti, of course. Then, after the war, he was in the political police of Partigiani. Strange things, but it happened in Italy. And he put in jail fascist, ex-fascist. his friends, ex-friends. Then he was in the political police of Democrazia Cristiana after the election, and he put in jail partigiani, ex-friends and co-worker. And I asked to him, I have a question, Maresciallo. Who do you vote for? Was my curiosity. He was very angry and say, what do you want from me? I am a policeman, nothing else. So I come to my home, and I think sometimes happen in the history that this answer is not enough. You can say, I don't belong to this situation. I am a writer, I am a policeman, I am a plumber, I am a journalist. It's not enough. And this is my character. A man who say, I don't belong to this situation, the dictatorship, the war, the killing, the fascism, because I am a police. I was looking for the murder and nothing else. No, this is one of the problem to be Italian in many parts of our history.
Just because you're referring a lot to history and, of course, fascism, is there a reason why we should look into the decades of the 30s and the 40s in Europe, those dark stories, those dark years in the European history? Is there any reason 80 years later to somehow, put a spotlight on those years and somehow, understand things about human nature and also maybe understanding today?
Allora, yes. It's human nature. We didn't understand something about human nature, and we can understand it about looking toward looking the past time, fascism, for example. The value of fascism are violence, sopraffazione, I can say in English, but dittatura, racism, and so on. If we are now the same values, the same problem, if we are speaking now again about racism, for example, political violence, murder, a lot of things like this, we are speaking about something we saw very clearly during the fascist time. So we have to study the fascist time to solve human problem about a human being, also in the present time.
And can we prevent it? Can we prevent fascism in present time? If we study, if we yell, if we,
yes.
if we, somehow react?
It's important. I think that you can prevent. Allora, one of the problem of the Italian people, but also European people, is to forget the past history. If you see the past history, if you see the fascist time, you can see this kind of movement of problem, human problem. But if you say, I don't want to remember because now we are good, we Italians say, Italiani brava gente, Italian good people. And when the Italians are good people, are very good people, I know it. But when we are not good people, we are mean, but very mean. We have to study this side in the past time, and this prevent something can happen again, because if you don't remember, now we listen many words we forget. For example, we listen many words in the political speaking, and they are the same words of the fascist time. We listen this word like new word, and we reflect about this now. But we know this word. We know what does this word meaning. For example, we are speaking about racism in Italy. Are we Italian racist people? We are not racist people. We have some people different from us. How can we react to this problem and so on? But we should know this, because we when we were racist people, we were colonialists. So we should know now better this problem, but we don't know because we forget. So we have to study.
Do you share the view that people do not read the way they used to some 20 or 30 years ago? Do you believe that? And also, should we attribute that to the fact that the attention span is not the same as it used to be 20 or 30 years ago, before we had devices like smartphones and pads, etc., etc.?
I'm not scared about smartphone, for example, and the television and all this kind of social media and so on, because I am a writer and I write book. I think we can find a good story and good reflection everywhere. We have to do everything. We just have to do everything. I don't say I'm a writer, I write book, so the book are the best way to tell a story or to think or to reflect. We do another thing, another thing. We work in another way. Reading the book means stay here and reflect about. But hearing a podcast, for example, is another thing. And my daughter play with a smartphone, but they don't only play with a smartphone. They read a book with a smartphone. They chat, they speak about something with a smartphone. Allora, if we can do it all together, smartphone and book and podcast and television and so on, I think it's a very good thing.
Right.
My only chance.
Do you do it yourself? I mean, do you actually read that way, or do you just isolate yourself reading a book in a library?
I can't read for example, in Kindle or. I have to give a paper book because I am old.
So that's a generational characteristic.
It's a generational characteristic. Allora, I think the generational characteristic is to refuse something else. My young daughter doesn't refuse anything. They know there is a smartphone, there is a book, there is a television. Our world has a lot of possibility to hear the story. Generational for me is I have to read the book and I can't to read something else. It's difficult for me also to hear the podcast, the radio. If you read me a book in the podcast, after a while I can listen anymore. I have to read, but this is generational. But I'm not afraid. I think they have a lot of possibility. I am I can say a storyteller, a narratore. The most important thing in my work is I want to tell you a story. And I tell you my story, because if I don't tell you my story, I became sick. I want to tell you my story, and I tell you my story with the word in line on a book. But if you can tell this story in another place with another kind of things, for me it's okay.
So do you enjoy if your book turns into a movie, for example? Do you enjoy that form?
Yes, I enjoy. I write some screenplay from my movie. I like very much. I am very, lucky, because I always have a very good work, good actor, good director. Okay, we fought for this, of course, because sometimes television or broadcaster are very fast. They say, okay, your Commissario De Luca could be this and this and this. And you say, no, wait a minute. This is not right, because. And you fight a lot of time. But then, movie about Commissario De Luca, for example, for me are very, very beautiful. I like it, so I'm very happy of this. But I like it.
In your books, there's always a killer, and you offer the readers a detailed background of why the this person, follow that road, follow that path. How difficult is it to actually attribute the motive to a person, to somehow, build up this character in a novel?
Allora, I like to write about character and people very different from me. I don't like to write something like me because I know myself and don't.
So yourself is nowhere in your books?
No.
Okay.
I try. I think I'm boring. What happened to me? Nothing. So, and for example, in a book I wrote, Almost Blue is the title. I had the three characters: a serial killer, a killer, and I'm not a serial killer, I hope. A woman, a female police, and a blind man, blind for the bird. Three kinds of experience, very different from my experience. Of course, I'm not a killer, but I have to know and to understand and to discover what is the motivation, what are the thoughts of this man, very different from me. A female police, a policewoman, for example, is another character very difficult for me because she's a policeman. I studied policeman. I studied the police method and the investigation. But a woman make a lot of things different from me because I am a man in the ordinary life. The character blind from the birth, of course, is very different. How can a blind man from the birth dream something, for example? I dream horse, I dream color, and the blind man, so, this is the very beautiful thing I like so much in writing, to discover what is inside the other people, and try to make the movement of these people in a realistic way.
So in some ways the writer is also a psychiatrist, right? I mean,
Pardon?
In some ways the writer is also a psychiatrist, or,
yes.
or like a psychologist, somebody who wants to actually read people's souls. Yes.
We have to be psychiatrists, psychologists, but not only this. When I wrote about the serial killer, for example, I have to be a psychiatrist, a criminologist, and to try to discover what the serial killer is. But I can do it alone by myself. I go to a real psychiatrist. And
discuss.
Yes, discuss. In this case, I've done this. I say, okay, we have a man here. We can do a perizia psichiatrica, psychiatric search. His name is Alessio. He come from, I don't remember. He dream something like this, because this was my ideas. Who is he? And then me and the psychiatrist make a psychiatric search, a real psychiatric search to a man, about a man who doesn't exist. After this search,
and
this man exists.
This is the discussion that you both have about like a person that does not exist, but you somehow, come up with the idea of who this person is and what exactly he does?
Yes. Allora, I need something, for example. I wanted that my character name is Alessio. Why? Because I have a friend of mine, Alessio, who looks like a serial killer. Okay, but he come from Padova. Padova is in the north of Italy. Yeah. Why? This is because yesterday I was in Padova, so I remember this. Alessio from Padova. What Alessio do? Alessio wear earphone because I need, as a writer, crime writer, Alessio could be recognized by something. Headphone, for example. A testimony, a man say, I've seen a man with earphone. Okay. Alessio listen a song from AC/DC, heavy metal group, Hell's Bells. Why? Because I've heard Hell's Bells with the car when I went to my psychotherapist. Alessio, from Padova, earphone, S bells. And I say, why Alessio here, S bells? And the psychotherapist say, S bells begin with the S bells. Boom, boom, boom. Maybe this remember to Alessio, his parents doing something, and so on. And we are working, and Alessio, no, minute by
becomes
minute,
real character.
Become real character. This is I like very much to do this.
You've written more than 20 novels. When you look back in 1990s, when you started writing, what advice would you give to the young writer, Lucarelli?
It's difficult to say, not because I'm perfect, of course, or I were perfect. No. But because I've done this thing. I would say write. It's strange to say to a writer, write. But sometimes the writer don't write. They write. And then it's okay. No, write, and write again, and write again. And write something of different. And another thing, different. I've done this. I wrote 2 novels about Commissario De Luca.
So write until you somehow finalize your own style and you take your ideas and put them into paper.
Yes. Study. Work about your style. I wrote the first novel, my first novel, about Commissario De Luca, 1945. 1945, some months after. And then I discovered another idea. I live in Bologna. And in Bologna, in this year, was a very strange city because there was a gang called Banda della Uno Bianca. Uno Bianca is a kind of car. And we discovered this gang was a gang of policemen. So it was very strange for us, Bologna. Bologna is my town, a very beautiful town, and we have a gang of policemen, like in the James Roy novel in Los Angeles. Commissario De Luca couldn't tell me a story like this.
Okay.
Couldn't tell me my Bologna. So I need another character, another way of writing, another idea to write about this. I've done this for all my work, and I could say to the Lucarelli in the 90s, change every time, discover, experimenta, search. This is.
Carlo Lucarelli, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much.